Okay, Anil, you have your book club. So we have here, we've got Nutan, we got Zoe.
I don't know if you can see us.
No, he can't because
Okay.
you're not in the
Okay.
thing. We got Michelle and Akhilesh.
Hi everyone, good morning.
Hello,
Morning.
good morning.
And then
Hi.
online we have Sandeep.
Yes. Hi,
And our
Sandeep.
smallest book club member is Atharv as well is here.
Yeah, just put him on camera.
But he can't see, no, the team's camera is here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think everybody's got their books. I don't know, Sandeep, do you have your book with you? Did you read your chapters?
Yes, I have my book. Right.
Not read it. Okay, no problem. So, Anil, where do you want to start from? You want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can decide the format. I just thought that, if we have read the book, then perhaps we can start by kind of, getting some thoughts from the readers, what they thought about the chapter that they read, and anything that jumped out at them, anything that attracted them, any challenges that they had when they were reading it, what thoughts came to mind. So we start with that, and I think then conversation can move to the questions that they might have. We can discuss those, but I just wanted to kind of get a sense of what they thought about the content overall, and is it something that interested them, something that kind of made them more curious about non-duality or self-realization? Is this something that they had kind of read before? So any things, maybe Joey, I can see you, perhaps you can share some of your thoughts, and we can go from there.
Okay. So I guess, so in my free time, I like to read a lot about attachment and attachment theory. So when I was going through the first chapter, I was kind of like, wow, this is very different from what I'm used to reading about. But like when I kept reading, it answered my questions. And I did like specifically the non-attachment, the little chapter or paragraph about that, as well as the question and answers that were at the end of the chapter. Those were really helpful. And then I had an idea because the concept of the I am could be a little bit confusing, even though it does explain it over and over again. I thought maybe an idea of like affirmations. So affirmations normally, like when people do like I am beautiful, I am strong, you would replace that with like a non-dualism like type of affirmation that might make it, I don't know, more clear to what, I mean it is very clear, but that would be an extra thing of drilling in the who is experiencing this. So affirmations in that regard. I highlighted a lot.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. Maybe Ashish can talk about I am that I am, right? I think maybe it will be helpful for everyone. What is kind of understood here through the I am, and there is certainly one connotation of I am, and then you say whatever you are, like you said, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am peaceful, I am happy. But in this context, in the non-dualism, Ashish, maybe you can talk a little bit about what is the meaning that we want people to sort of like start to think about.
Yeah, and in the chapter it talked about like how you aren't that I, like you are replacing that. So I think the emptiness of that concept, I mean it's only chapter 1, so like obviously it's going to get more into it, but the emptiness of that concept of like, okay, so if I'm not this, what am I? And then replacing that with more affirmations of like I am, serene, I am peaceful, like what you said, like to go along those lines.
So, no.
Or we are. And
No,
or
so stop at I am.
okay.
So the affirmation, anything that you add after the I am is all creation of the mind.
Yeah.
So if you can stop at just I am, then that is your original state of being. The moment you say I am serene,
Yeah.
means that now the individual, that I is now turned from the origin to an individual.
Yeah.
So,
I see. Yeah.
right? So that is where the meaning of I am Ashish to I am was that if you remove Ashish,
Yeah.
then your original I am and the after I am remains the same. Ashish is that illusion that makes you believe that you're different from your original state of being.
Yeah.
So if you affirm, so that's another thing that we say, that if you want to have a mantra, then every time a thought comes, just say I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Just that is the
I
mantra.
am.
That is the
I am.
affirmation.
I am.
I see.
But the moment you say I am serene, reality does not say I am serene. Because in the individual I says I am serene, or I am peaceful, or I am happy, or I am Zoe, I am American. That's all part of the individuality.
Yeah.
The original state of being does not say anything.
Yeah.
It just remains I am.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the last in the last few paragraphs is written like if you dissolve Ashish, like I am to I am.
Correct.
And one.
So that's what this means.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to mean.
Yeah.
I don't know
Like
if
that,
I don't know if it came out.
Well, no, it did, and that's why I was like making it. That's why I was asking that question of like for the empty. It's not empty, but like it is. Like when you're going through that process of removing yourself from all of these identities and things you align yourself with, as well as asking who is experiencing. It's kind of like no one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very much like, what do you do with that information then? And sit with, like, I am absolutely nothing, if that makes sense.
Right.
Nothing but everything.
Right. So, and I think that's will be a good segue into the non-dual, because I think one of the things I want to touch today, Anil, is what does it mean to be non-dual? And I think we'll clarify that because that's chapter 1. So I think just hold that thought.
Mm-hmm.
We will cover this in this next conversation.
The first chapter.
When we come in first chapter, because I want to understand from each one of you, when I talk about non-duality or Advaitva, what does it actually mean to you, right? And I think we'll cover that. So I thought about this morning because I want to clarify that. I think I got this morning. I said, I'm sure this is what's going to come up, so I'll be able to explain it better. I think I'll go deeper into that beyond what we've covered in the book as well.
Yeah, sure. So just one thing, I think what you just said, I think it will come home if you just think I am, just I am, that is the existence. That actually is the real thing. You have this Satchitana. So I am, that's just the existence, just the consciousness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything about that, and I think the picture that you see in the first chapter, that individuality is being dissolving, and what is remaining is I am, just the existence, just the consciousness that we exist. That is I am.
And what you will experience when you do this is just that awareness of your existence. It's only pure awareness. There is nothing else beyond it. So in your consciousness, you're just aware that you exist and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that, but what is there is just the awareness of being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then this part says like what is left over is your true nature, a silent, totally still and thought-free state of undisturbed peace. So, like going into that too, like it really is that manifesting that belief.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that belief doesn't manifest. That belief is. Everything else is manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that where your starting point
it's going
is.
back.
Yeah.
I see.
So your starting point is, if you always abide in your starting point and then look at everything from that starting point, you will see that all questions get answered.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on that side and now you're trying to look this way, then you have all these questions. What do I remove? How do I get there? How do I come out? So now you can say that you're there, you're watching, now you've got all of these, like a highway is traffic jam. Mm-hmm. Now you have to remove everything to get here.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you never left here. You're always here. You just have a belief that you are there, mm-hmm. and hence you're trying to come here. But in reality, you never left here.
Yeah.
And that's the illusion. That when you wake up, you realize that you never left anywhere. You were always where you started off from. Everything else was make-believe.
Yes.
just in one interruption, Ashish, I think there is some kind of a shadow or the white.
Yeah, so that's the
screen.
background. What happens is it's the background does this.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Because
virtual
as soon as
background.
you guys move,
Yeah,
something actually happens on the
Just
background.
yeah. So the
Still.
virtual background tends to, move around. That's with any virtual background.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
distortion.
Mhm.
There you
Don't
go.
move.
You're already enlightened. He's seeing you enlightened.
Well, if it's distracting, you take it off.
Do you want me to take off the virtual
Because
background?
You've got a decorative
No, I think
background.
it's let's put the regular. This is
Regular
good.
background.
Yeah, this is good enough.
If you have, because if you're doing the recording, then I think this might also reflect there.
Now we are in the natural.
There we go.
Yeah, this is
That
much
actually is
better.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Much better.
Okay.
it's nice in here.
much better. He spent many hours here with me.
Yeah.
That's the way you guys are debating. He sat here many hours. Anil,
Oh.
Yeah.
conversing on the same points.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nutan, you have
Like, as a general comment for the book, whenever I try to read this kind of book, the language is like little like difficult for me to understand, but particularly for this book, it's very easy to read.
okay, good.
Very like in one read you can
थोड़ा जोर से बोल.
in one read you can like understand. You don't have to like go back on after, but it's the language is very good. It's very reader friendly.
Okay, good.
As a content wise, I kind of understood most of the part, but like couple of the things I felt like it's a little bit confusing for me.
Okay.
For example, the first principle of self-realization is minimize or eliminate desire. So it's written here that like you set your goal, you work hard, but just don't don't analyze the outcome or something. But it's so difficult. Like for example, if you have a like certain goal in your life and you really work hard for that, how does you not get like affected with the outcome? Because if you get the failure, you will get like depressed and you'll be like, so I just don't know like what is the process of like how you can like detach yourself from the outcome.
So it takes time. It doesn't happen like that. So it's taken me almost over 8 years, and I did this 24/7. I couldn't get enough of it. So even after doing this constantly, it still took that long, right? But you have to start somewhere, and eventually it comes. Reason being, as I said, that once you have the realization that your starting point is here and not there, then you realize that everything anyways is make-believe. So the whole point of being attached to that make-believe, isn't it foolish anyways? You're now attached to something which is make-believe, and now you're struggling with that within that make-believe to try and either win something or lose something or capture something or achieve something, whereas it's actually make-believe. So the whole point is when you realize, all you do is you laugh, because all this while you've been so foolish in trying to chase something which actually has no substantial existence. So what that means is that you start, and what in the scriptures is said is neti neti, that one at a time you start, but you have to start somewhere. But you have to start with a belief or a faith that this actually is reality. Because if you from day one you say, look, sorry, but I'm not going to do this, or I'm not, this does not make sense to me, then you'll never do it. So then you'll still remain in your daily routine, in your daily life. But it happens. I'm a living example that it happens. Because if you had seen me 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago, then I was exactly where you are today. Goals, families, desires, materialistic desires.
What about the part where it said about like even a leaf falling off a tree? Like those are patterns that are meant to happen, so it's kind of like predestined to fail. Like failure is innate. You're going to fail, there will be failure. So detaching from the concept of like feelings towards failure and be like ready to move on from failure. Like it was meant to be, meant to fail. And that is a hard concept for me too. Like I feel very, very stressed by that feeling.
So
Very
that's
stressed.
because sorry, because those are all because you wrongly identified with this entity called Newton or Zoe.
I think to control, like
Yeah,
wrongly
because
identifying with control.
right, because if you identify with that, that entity's entire purpose is to remain in control, is to think that you are the doer, you are the one who has the desire, you have to achieve it. So as he has also said, the biggest fallacy, and we've had this conversation yesterday itself, right? That as long as you believe in that individuality, as long as you believe that you are in control, you keep going through these rigmaroles. So unconditional surrender is the other part that we talk about. There are two ways, right? We talk about either self-inquiry or surrender. But surrender also needs to be unconditional. Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. It's got nothing to do with you. So when you go watch a movie, do you control the script? You may, when you identify, you may feel that, look, the villain should not do this. Maybe if the villain does this, then the movie will be better. In your mind, once you've identified, you start creating your own ideas how the movie should be. But the script is the script. It will be what it is meant to be. And from unconditional surrender comes complete acceptance. Because once you're centered here, then you know that this is a script. It is all make-believe. Nothing going on, nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with your individuality. You have nothing to do with your individuality. Whatever is happening will happen. You start watching it that way. You start looking at life that way. From that starts coming non-attachment. Because now once you see that everything is make-believe or it's meant to be whatever it is, and you are here where nothing is going on, that is your inner state of being, then it is what it is. Then starts non-attachment. Then nothing belongs to you. Nothing that your individuality has created for itself actually is related to you.
So you're saying like everything is predestined, right?
Everything is predestined in the dream drama. So again, remember.
So let's say you're saying like a leaf has to fall and it is predestined, right? In the book, right?
Right.
So it means like someone is managing that, right? Someone is managing it.
Someone has written the destiny.
Someone has written your destiny, right? So who is that someone?
So first of all, someone has written your destiny.
My
Remove the
destiny.
your.
My destiny.
My destiny, remove mine.
Okay.
Someone has written something.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
And Akhilesh is not a actor in that.
Okay.
Or a director of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a character in
Correct.
the movie.
Correct. Agreed.
Right? So if he's a character, it's got nothing to do with you. You're
Correct.
just a character. It's like Amitabh Bachchan in Sholay being Vijay.
Just a character.
Just a character.
Mm-hmm.
Amitabh Bachchan does not control anything. He's been
Correct.
given a role to play, and that role is being played.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's the same thing. The issue is that you believe that you are now the actor and director of it, that you are in complete control, so you can control your destiny, which is not the case. You believe you can,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the case.
But there is someone who is controlling it, right? Which means
So
there
in
is.
reality,
Mhm.
it's just a reflection. Even that is not happening.
Okay.
When you come to this,
Mm-hmm.
in reality also nothing is happening. So it's like a reflection that is applying of this power, whatever power you want to call it. You can call it God, you can call
Mhm.
it Shakti, you can call it self, you can call it Brahman,
Mm-hmm.
you can call it energy, any name you want to give it, X, Y, or Z. But it is nothing but a reflection of this on itself that makes it believe that there is actually a dream drama playing on. But in reality, even that is not playing on. So remember something, you have to go non-dual, this is where we would come,
Mm-hmm.
is that you have to first go to the origin.
Mm-hmm.
What is the origin of all this? Where is all this playing? Where is all this happening? And that origin is silent, it's still, and it's thought free. That means in the original state of being, there is nothing going on. And it's
If I
permanent.
can actually add, Akhilesh and Nutan, I think the question that you asked is like, $1 million question. And I think, a lot of people will have that question. So if you have looked at the definitions, we actually define this in a slightly different manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at, there are two definitions: worldview from self-realized perspective, and worldview from the when you are not self-realized.
Mm-hmm.
So when you actually look at that, it will actually describe, and somebody might actually want to read it, because they will see what she just described is when you are when you are self-realized. From that vantage point, nothing actually exists. Absolutely nothing. There is no controller, there is no manager, there's no film, there is no actors, no directors, no characters.
Mm-hmm.
When you are at that level, when you are self-realized, when you are in the world and in kind of not, we don't say it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
When it's the
manifestation
that gets removed.
Correct.
Then it's a then you just get it, who you truly are, or automatically, because that's who you are. It's the dust over the statue. When the dust goes away, statue appears, because it already existed. So that is kind of the process, but I think it is a very important question to see. If you have goals, if you have ambitions, aspirations, then how you will not be disappointed if you don't get it, and how you will not be exhilarated when you get it. But that's the whole thing. It will take some time, because if you want to be in that permanent happiness state, then you cannot be attached. Then the fluctuation will keep going. And look at the happiness chapter, we discuss it in more detail in there. So if you are part of this, everyone, the way we think there's a fluctuation going on with these events, the only time you will get away from those fluctuations of your emotions and happiness, when you actually separate yourself from what is happening in your life. You're not engaged, you're still doing it, everything, you're still kind of planning, putting goals, achieving them, not achieving them, they're all happen. But the real inner core of happiness should not actually get perturbed or disturbed because of the outcomes of those events. That takes a practice, that takes a mindset, and it will evolve over time.
Mm-hmm. No, obviously it would take good amount of time. Like for you also, it took.
Yeah, and I am supposed to be quite
And
fast.
you are doing like 24/7. You
plus
said,
this
right?
is all I
So-
did.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it. When it started, I just dreamt. I did two things. I took care of my father, and I just did this.
Mm.
So I ate, I slept, I dreamt self-realization. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened is, one of the things that people say is that, then how were your bills being paid? How are you taking care of your kids?
Right. You
Right?
still have a family to.
You have a family to.
Right. So how can you become, kind of non-attached to them?
Right.
Right. So.
And another follow-up question with like what Akhilesh just mentioned. In one of the paragraphs, you said like you're still fulfilling your duty as a father, taking care of two kids. You're still
Correct.
involved with the venture fund.
Correct.
So like, since you have reached to that self-realization point, like I'm just trying to understand, as you're saying that we should not attach with the outcome, and like there should not be like with the personal things, you should not get attached. So don't you feel? I mean, it might sound very like rude, but like, don't you have any emotional attachment towards your like family and like your kids?
So there is a very good saying that, and he uses it quite often in Buddhism. It says, before realization, chop wood, get water.
Yeah, I read it.
After realization, chop wood, get water.
Mm-hmm.
So what has happened is that I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
but with a very different knowledge and understanding. My love actually has grown from my children because it become unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
It is not conditional because they are my children. When love is conditional or anything is conditional, it will create friction. It will create problems. It will create issues.
There will be expectations.
And Attachment cause expectations. Expectations always relate to disappointments, because when those expectations are not met, the, the mind and the ego is trained to get disappointed. So with non-attachment comes unconditional love. With self-realization or understanding of this comes unconditional love for all. So it's not that I don't love them. I actually love them beyond you can imagine.
Like a constant love.
But it does not get affected by anything that say they do. It does not change. The other thing is that my love for them is same as my love for you, because again it's unconditional, and the same for Vladimir Putin. It is unconditional. Please get this. So this is very difficult for people to understand, because then people say, hey, but Vladimir Putin is killing so many people. But this is what happens, because it does not remain conditional that because this person is good, hence I will love him, and because that person is bad, right? Because even when you go to pray and you believe, let's say, in Krishna, Krishna does not differentiate. He is silent. Even the bad person is going to Krishna. Even the good one is going to Krishna. Everybody is going. Everybody is same. Because everybody is playing a role. Gulshan Grover as a villain, he's not a villain. He's a role that he plays. Actually, if you meet him in real life, he's a very nice man.
I
So
like that you put the not being attached to your work or family does not mean that you're sitting on a couch and watching TV, or that you do not love your spouse or children. What it means is that you have an internal knowledge, spiritual wisdom, that your job is to do the work with complete effort and sincerity, but not to be attached to its outcome. And I think that like it simplifies attachment in the sense of like being attached is a very complex thought normally, but like being attached to your children, like it's very hard not to get like there's an expectation of your head of what your kid is supposed to do or to be good or bad. And then when you get frustrated, and that frustration is the biggest burden of being a parent. And like if you take that away, I feel like it grows that love. Like he was saying, like I don't care. Like it's not I don't care if my kid is bad, but it's not bad. It's just kind of like this is how they are, this is how it is, and my love for them is not changing despite whatever they do. Right?
Correct.
Ashish, what about, I think, if you see your children not doing the way they should be behaving or should be doing things, and you have love for them, but how do you, as a parent, how do you kind of, give them guidance and put them into right direction? Because if you leave them to their own devices, whatever they think is right, and you have love for them, but you still need some kind of a guidance and direction to them so that they grow in a much more richer environment of knowledge and life. How do you do that? That's a real thing. Because if you're saying you're non-attached, because you are attached, that's why you actually worry about them. You want to make sure that they actually go on the right path.
So
right?
here,
and
yeah.
if you have a very, very kind of, non-conditional love, and you do not make a difference between your kids and your neighbor's kids, how that actually makes a difference.
So, as a parent, right, you will make the effort. There's no problem. There is no conflict or issue in guiding your children the way you think you want to, right? Like if you think there's something good or bad. Now, this is a very complex question, because first the question arises whether what you think is good or right or wrong for your child, is that actually true? Because who is actually believing that what they're saying or doing is right or wrong? Reality is not. It is your own ego that makes it believe that you think, okay, this may be right for my child. It may not be. But as a parent, you think this is right, so you push those ideas onto your child to say this is right. So that is first thing that you have to first understand and analyze, right? And then the other thing is, if you believe in unconditional surrender, then you're surrendering it to whoever's written the script. And whether it is right or wrong, it's not for you to decide on. It just is. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. But that is where the understanding lies. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, look, I'll take this part because I believe this is what is the right thing for my child, and hence I'll keep that. But if what you said did not work, then oh Lord, now change it because I thought it was right, but it actually something else happened. There are lots of instances. So that's why you have to allow freedom. You have to let the script play out. You do your effort. You believe you're saying, okay, this is right. But whether your child will imbibe that or not, don't try to force it on him. You can guide him the way you think is right. But what will happen, it will happen. And then not get perturbed by, if that thing that you had said was right, did not happen, it happened some other way. I can give you an example of my own children. Right now, Ethan is applying for college. Colleen believes that he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's not. He's, getting on his video games and playing. So she is really stressed that if she does not jump into this whole thing, then he will not get where he needs to get to. Whereas my thing to her was just let it go, let it be. Wherever he needs to be, he will be. But because you believe that you are the one who will control his destiny, now since it's not happening the way you feel it should happen, you are now doing Swinger Sunday. So anxiety is kicked in, stress has kicked in. Now the pressure comes, you say something, you jump in. I have nothing to jump in about. Because where he needs to be, he will be. If he's not supposed to be there, he won't be. Whether you think that you have done it or not, up to you.
But then sorry.
I was to say, I agree. Colin's third child doesn't mean because he's third I got beat down and let him. But this past year, I've been spending time soul searching, finding my inner happiness. Because if I can't find my inner happiness, how can I help others? And to your avail, yes, I want to bang my head in a wall about Colin applying to college as well. But then I also realize he's applying to the colleges he wants to with his passion. It's his journey. I may want him to go somewhere else, but it's his journey. Part of me thinks he may not want to go away. Like he keeps coming back to Jersey. So let him be. Let him find his routine, He may wake up at 25, 26 going, that was a stupid move. I should have listened to you. But he still can right his wrongs on his journey. So I agree. It's a journey. I don't want to say push our children. We guide our children,
But the first thing, as you rightfully said, if your individuality does not exist, then your child's individuality also does not exist. It's not that if my individuality does not exist, that means everybody else still exists. This is even keel. The starting point for all is one and the same. There's no difference between my starting point and your starting point. So, from my point of view, if you're sitting here, if Ashish has no substantial existence, then does Ethan have substantial existence? Right? Then he's also playing a role in somebody else's dream drama. Then what are you getting so perturbed about?
The ultimate, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And getting back to where you three are, you're in a different level than where I am. But Newton, I was where you were. I studied hard in school. You graduate school, master's, PhD, whatever it is that you acquire, and you've got stars in your eyes, and you leave school thinking, I'm going to take over the world. We take over the world, we conquer the world. But for me, there was a price to pay. I was working too much. I lost my family. I missed out on some of the kids growing up. I missed some of their events. I can't get that back. I'm not saying everybody should quit their career. I agree with you. I think we need, I'm not where you are spirituality wise, but I'm getting there, taking a step back, saying, if I could get by and be a little bit better, I don't have to run the world anymore, because I lost too much trying to be on top.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're in your 20s, it's hard when you're in your 30s and 40s to see that. Then all of a sudden we wake up and our kids are off to college. You know? But we've also created, in our children, we've created mini me's. They see us working so hard and giving everything up to give their kids everything, to give their success. So in return, they ultimately may give up, sacrifice of family and core values and all that. So there is a lot to be said about finding the I am, just the I am. But it's hard to get there because you're at different levels in life.
Yeah.
You know? And coming from someone who's spent 20 years in human resources, and we used to like roll our eyes at millennials who believe in, I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna get by in life, and I'm gonna be happy. And there's no thought process into it. Where the 80s, 90s, and the early millennial generation was work hard until you drop dead, right? They're on to something. You know? I think that they're finding, I think they'll get to the I am quicker than someone at my age can. Because the thought of, I got bills to pay, I can't quit my job, I got college, you know what I mean? Then the numbers just keep adding up, and the obligations just keep going down and down and down. But I think trying to get where Ashish is will better sustain your life. Did I say that? Right.
I think too, like as someone who is younger in that aspect, I think also going into the military for me, I think that was the ultimate of there is no I. Like, there is only one group,
Yeah.
and your opinions do not matter.
Right.
Your individuality is not real. You do not matter. You are replaceable. So I think for me, like, that was a very big, like, wow, that's weird. Like, you don't think that that's how it's going to be. And then as a young person, like, that kind of defined my early, like 18, 19, 20. So it was very different, but it aligns with this in the sense of I can't control any of this outcome. I am here, and that's about it. And I don't want to say not go above and beyond, but like, what is above and beyond? Like, you have no control over above and beyond. There's no concept of above and beyond. So it's just kind of like, I'm here.
So you kind of did different complete surrenders.
Yeah.
But not by choice.
Yeah, like it was more of a soul crushing
Right.
experience of like, wow, I don't matter. But like, now it's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like,
so do you feel that way, or do you feel like the complete surrender in the book is two different opposites?
I think it's different, but it's pretty similar because like one was, like I said, sad. Like, I went into it excited and happy, and like I was doing something special. Like, I felt like I was contributing to something bigger than me,
Saving the world.
and it absolutely was not. Like, it was absolutely not my experience. It was kind of a bad experience. It was me as a woman among lots of men, where I really didn't feel like I mattered at all, and even when I wanted to matter, it didn't. So like, the lack of control I had in that environment was very much like, why try? When I got out, it was like, nothing I do matters. I can't change anything. I can only manage my own existence. And at that point, it was a very like beat down existence, like very, very, very depressed. So I was just going through the motions, and I had my kids by then. So it was very just sad and looking for purpose. And I've spent the last 5 years looking for purpose, and there isn't one. Like, I truly believe there is no purpose. Like, I'm just here, and I'm alive, and I'm just gonna try to enjoy it, and I'm gonna love my kids. Like, I've almost felt like a bum for the last 5 years because I have had no goals. Like, I have lived my life with absolutely no goals for the last 5 years. And if I have time to do school, I did school. And if I don't, I don't. And there's no, I've had to not attach. And it's not even from this book, but like my own like therapy, as well as just trying to build my own happiness. When you get stuck on the goals and the outcome of goals, it makes you sad. Like, and then when you would accomplish a goal, it's kind of like this empty, that I did that, but it's like, what did that get me? Like, it really is nothing. Like, life is kind of nothing. But it's also good. Like, seeking only beauty is the best part, if that makes sense.
So does now what I say is my saying, does that make sense? That the only purpose of life is to know one's true nature. Does that resonate now?
Yes.
As you said, there's no other purpose of life.
Yeah.
And that's what that means. You see my quote. It's just to know who you are. Because once you wake up from that knowing.
I think a lot of people get stuck on like, I'm going to be educated, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, but it's like, once you have that, what do you actually have? Like, it's not, yes, it's like, what's the next thing?
So desire.
It's a never-ending chase.
Yes. So desire, what Buddha said, was an unquenchable fire. Because one leads to the other, leads to the other, leads to this. The whole job profile as an HR of desire is to keep you going. The job profile of the questioner is to keep asking questions. The job profile of the mind is to keep creating illusions. Till you wake up and you realize something there. Even the mind has no substantial existence.
but what about Joey? I think, if your experience had been slightly different. So actually you, instead of going to the army, you actually started a company, you became a successful CEO, you actually employed 20 people. Will that be still an empty happiness? Or you think that I'm giving job to 20 people, I am happy, what I wanted to achieve, I have accomplished this, and it gives me immense happiness because what I wanted to aspire for, I have received it now, and I'm going to go for the second. So that's one aspect. And suppose, in some contracts you don't get, some clients you don't get, you have an inner happiness which is not dependent upon the outcome. Would it have been a different situation for you or different experience for you, where you are riding the happiness of achieving your goals and your whatever you aspire to become? At the same time, when you're not receiving or not getting the outcomes you desire, you're still happy.
I think the search, even if that search would have been different, like that search for purpose would have probably felt the same. Even if I had, gone a different route, I think that it still would have been the same conclusion of where I was at with feeling empty, if that makes sense. Like, I think the emptiness was going to happen either way. Like,
because
so that's for others, I would think, for me personally, I feel fulfilled, I feel content in that circumstance which I just described. If you're able to, and I do not know how different people behave differently. If you look at the life in a different manner, if you look at a life in a positive way where you are actually trying to do something, and nothing to do non-dualism here, right? You are from the word perspective you're talking now. So you are able to sort of do something, your life gets fulfilled. You are content that you are able to do something meaningful for yourself and for people around you. And now you want to do more, right? Because it gives you that feeling of happiness and peacefulness. That is unbelievable happiness inside. And you create an inside structure, or whatever you want to call it. When you do not get the desired outcome, you're still happy nevertheless. That's where I aspire to become.
Yeah, I mean, I think that still goes along with the same things of like what you said, non-attachment to success and failure. But like, I think life is about finding things that do give you some sort of joy. Like, so if that is what you want, like, but if it doesn't happen, then it's okay. Then it might be
Yes.
a different path is needed to be taken.
No, so Anil, there the differentiation would be that when you say you are content and peaceful within, the only way your happiness will not fluctuate is if it's not conditioned on anything. Your happiness has to be unconditional. It is not dependent on any outside activity, event, action, word, thought. Till that does not happen, you will find that today you may be content because you have 20 people employed, you are able to find some way or means to be able to continue. But once that condition changes, you will find that something within you will change. So as long as you are abiding in your own true nature and you know that that does not get affected by anything else, it's unconditional, till then, when the condition changes, it will fluctuate. That's just the nature of creation. Whatever has been conditioned, whatever has come into being will pass. And with that, the duality will change. If it's joyous today, it will not remain joyous. When I take that away from you, if I took your company away from you, you will find that that joy has not remained because that joy was conditioned on that company being there. If you can tell me that, look, the whole point of us going back is that if you're abiding in your true nature and you're saying, look, now I know that this is script, I will give my full effort. If my company does well, fantastic, no problem, still happy. If my company does not do well, still happy. If my company does mediocre, still happy. So that is not dependent on your happiness, then is not dependent on outward events. It is always in that state of being.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that's fine.
It's not contingent upon outcome, for sure.
Yes.
It is the purpose that drives you. Someone becomes a monk, someone becomes a business person, someone becomes an HR person. It's what motivates you. What is your inner desire? What gives you a purpose in life? Somebody may just do the agriculture, they're extremely happy. At the same time, their kids may actually go to the city and can become a CEO of a large Fortune 500 company. What motivates you is that happiness, that's purpose. Now, for none of these things, the outcome should matter. That is the learning. Outcome should not decide your inner happiness.
And then coming back to, and that's what realization of the self does, which is again the same. Cut wood, right? Chop wood, get water. So before realization, you were doing that, but now you were fluctuating with. After realization, you're still doing the same work, still taking care of the kids, you're still going through UPenn and doing your research, but with a whole different understanding. And that's all this is.
And that is the real thing, that understanding what Ashish you just described, that is the understanding. If you have that understanding, then I think you're in a good place.
You're in a good place, but not.
Yeah.
And then finally, is you have to come to the realization, which is complete non-attachment, that there is nothing going on. But that will come to next stage. Because your original state of being, starting point when you wake up, makes you realize that nothing actually is going on. So it's like equivalent to a dream, right? When you're having a deep sleep, when you have a dream, you identified with the dream. You start to believe that the dream is real. You have emotional, sometimes if the dream is intense, you start crying. You start, feeling heavy. You start believing in that character of the dream. Until somebody comes and shakes you up and says, Zoe, wake up. You wake up and you say, where am I? Where was I? Oh, good Lord, I was actually somewhere on the top of the mountain. I was about to go, skydiving. And then, so self-realization is the same way, that when you wake up, you realize that there was everything that was actually happening is not happening. And then all you can do is have a nice laugh. Because how foolish were you? If you were engrossed and entangled and you were struggling and you were going up and down, you were, trying to achieve and trying to build and trying to make sense of everything.
I'm just wondering if it took 10 many years to you to realize that thing? I don't know how much time it's gonna take me to reach that point.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed that. It is the ultimate question. How long is it going to take each one of us to get to that journey? Because
Okay.
it's
So very good question.
like a long time for me.
So once you realize, this is what self-realization is the realization that there is nothing to realize.
Dissolving of the ego.
Because your original state of being has never changed. There's nothing to realize. If you just be, then your original has not changed. You just wake up. So there is no time period. Again, as long as you believe that you're individual, now you're saying, how long will it take me? The question is not about the time, the question is about the me. It's right here now. You already are realized right here now. You just have to let go of your attachment to your individuality.
I think there's a lot of people put their success, like equate that to their worth. So like, what you've accomplished in life is your worth. So when you strip away all of the things that you've actually accomplished, your worth is innate. Like, you're just as worthy if you're homeless as if you have, you know, $1 million company. Like, your worth is going to be the same. So letting go of, like, having self-esteem, I guess not maybe, yeah, but self-esteem in general is a made-up concept. But like, if your worth is innate, is what I'm saying.
And I agree with what you're saying, because that's been my whole life.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
worldly
a lot of us are
possessions
taught
and
that.
my careers
Yeah.
and my success has always been, I guess, say, ego. Look at me, you know, hey, my mom's the head of an HR, you know, a biotech company, you know, look, you know what I mean? Look.
Yeah.
And look where I am.
Yeah. It doesn't make you feel like all of those accomplishments do nothing. Like, Michelle is Michelle and you have worth.
So
Like,
the focus is not on look. Focusing.
Well, not
like I
anymore.
said,
I've changed.
Look where I am.
Yeah.
Focus should be on that I.
Right.
Because what is that I? If that I is not there, then all what it had built for itself, which is your mother being in a biotech, or you having a family, or your family getting destroyed, has no meaning.
Right.
Because it's all linked to that false I.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with you. It's that false I.
No, I agree.
And then the question arises that if it's not me, then who am I?
Right.
Ask that question.
That's
And you are pure consciousness.
right.
You are pure bliss.
And that's where I'm heading into. Yeah, but I
So if you look
I
at
have a
everything,
lot of-
but if you look
lot
at
of-
everything
yeah.
from remembering that understanding,
right.
One is understanding. Start with that. If you every time something happens, if you remember who you are, and then look at that event, you should let it fall away. It will go away.
Right.
It's
And
not there.
It says that in chapter 1. Repeat. Who am I?
Yes, but that's the self-inquiry that Ramana taught.
Right.
That was Gyan Yoga. But if you keep questioning the questioner, eventually the questioner will dissolve into the source from where it had appeared to arisen. What happens is when people are asking that question, they get stuck on the questions.
Right.
Because as long as the questioner is alive, the questions will keep coming. There is no end to questions.
Ashish, I have to leave now, but I think I just wanted to give this tip that has worked for me, and I just think that when you are asking the question, what is your perspective? Your perspective is the world perspective from a non-realized person, or your perspective is from a self-realized person. That will answer a lot of things, because we get entangled when we have a non-realized perspective of the worldview. But as soon as I think what Ashish is trying to say, that if you are actually starting that you are who you want to become, all those questions sort of like dissolve. Everything dissolves at that point in time. But we are not able to get to that because it's difficult to conceive that, difficult to feel that, because we are trained and conditioned in this worldview. The worldview has one answer, and when you're not self-realized, and when you discover self-realization, then everything dissolves. So that actually is the kind of practice that I do when these things come to my mind. So, I just wanted to share what I have been doing, and I something else going on. So thank you so much. So we'll hopefully we'll meet again next week.
So
Right?
not next Sunday. I don't know
No,
if
next
Saturday
Sunday we
because
have
next
satsang.
Sunday we've
Yeah.
got the satsang session,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
we will meet the week after next.
Yeah.
And we'll continue this. You know, we can. Next time we'll focus on the chapters.
Chapters,
Because today we kind
It
of
was first,
got
so-
it was the first one, but I think the importance would be to hit on each chapter and start talking about the chapters, and then work
Sure.
through the chapters.
How many chapters do you want us to be on in 2 weeks?
So we didn't do the non-duality today.
Yeah.
Because so we'll cover non-duality, and then maybe if you want we can cover, because remember each chapter will take you an hour and a half, because once the question comes, then when I give you an answer, there are 3 other questions that will come out of that. So I think you're okay if you can still continue reading, but I think again we'll hit on the non-duality chapter 1,
Okay.
But I
non-duality.
think we had a good discussion on non-duality today. I mean,
Yes.
I think we start. I think
Yeah.
it's a decent discussion.
Right.
Right? Not deep dive, but decent
Yeah.
discussion. Okay.
But
All right.
all right.
Thank
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Are you available for one more question?
Of course, I'm available all the time, 24/7 for this.
So, in the book, you talk about religion.
Okay, where do I talk about religion? This was a long time ago. Tell me, where? Which chapter? Which?
No, in the very beginning, you open up,
God is real.
yeah,
I think that's the first sentence.
which leads me to the current question: where are you? What is your understanding of your religious belief?
None.
I think it's on page 1.
On non-duality.
Page 1.
Yeah, it's
Well, he talks about. He says God
exists.
God exists, and that is the
And he's
what he says.
recognizing every religion.
Yeah, no. What he says is, I think where it is, he says God exists, and that is the belief. I think that's what he
Yeah.
says right after
Yeah.
that. Is the common belief.
Like that you're praying to a God versus you are the God.
I think the way he
What he's saying is,
what he's saying
like-
here is God. It is a common for a believer to assert something to the effect of, right? So there was a question asked to Buddha. Master, are you God or man? He said neither.
Neither.
The difference between you and I is I'm awake and you're not. That's what my not belief. That's what my knowing is.
Okay.
Does that answer? So what he was trying to say here, I don't know if it came out right. He says God exists. It is the common for a believer to assert something to the effect of I believe in God. So I think what he was trying to say, maybe it's not come out clearly, is that he's not affirming the fact that God exists.
Yeah.
Or he's not affirming the fact that God exists in a form of, in form or in name.
Like last sentence, contrast this with the non-dualism or the belief that there is only one permanent, unchanging, and
Eternal reality. And the nature of that reality is just, it's formless, it's nameless, it's just consciousness. And the awareness of that being conscious is what's called self-realization.
So, how to readers, like if you take someone who's like a devout Catholic, how would how do you explain their belief and your belief is my question.
So
Like
there's-
I was kind of looking
yeah.
at it as an
It-
outsider,
So
as
Michelle,
an interpreter.
right, but one thing I say is that in order to start on this path, everything has to go up for you to even start this, right? So your beliefs, your dogmas, your preconceived notions, everything has to be thrown out of the window, right? And if it's something new that you want to, one is that you're completely, let's say, you're like, this is what I believe, and anything that you say, do, or think, I don't care, right? You will never get across to somebody like that. Because if I come and I tell you, look, Michelle, there is a new diet, for example, right? And you say, look, I don't believe in diets, I don't care what you talk about, this is what it is, my belief is, you can come and give me the best diet of all time and I'm just going to say it's shit. You're never going to try it, right? So here what I'm saying is, look, maybe there is another, what you believe may not be true, right? That's your starting point with somebody who's got that deep religious beliefs. And it's
Okay.
not only in Catholicism, it's in Hinduism.
You could ask like
Well-
what drew you to Catholicism? Like why did you become a Catholic? What do you like about being Catholic? And
Yeah.
where's your faith in that?
Well, in my
Like what-
opinion, I know
and-
I know no
and
different
more-
because I
and
was
more
there.
Yeah,
important,
exactly.
plus more importantly, the question to ask is, what is Catholicism? What is being Christian? Because Jesus Christ's teachings were not defined as a religion.
Right.
Just teachings. Even Buddha's teachings were just teachings. Buddha said, I found suffering in the world and I couldn't find an answer, so I went seeking for an answer. If there is suffering, how can I remove the suffering? Right? So what he found the answer, he says, here are the answers, this is what I found, this is what I did, and if you do this, I guarantee that you will find relief from all your sufferings.
Right.
That's it. Then they created a religion around it called Buddhism. Now they preach this, that, and everything else. And that has all been constructed to keep you in control. To take a whole society and now control it.
Religion is social control for sure.
It is. But it's not. So if you truly ask somebody who's a Catholic and true, right? I'm a Hindu. If today I ask any Hindu, give me the essence of Hinduism, nobody knows. They are all following what their parents taught them, and then what their parents taught them. So it is something which is beaten down and ingrained, which is exactly the question. I can now put it down on my child. I can force it on him. Is it correct?
I still remember when I met Jesus, he had said like he didn't believe in God. He was like,
Really?
He was like, you believe in God? And I was like, well, yeah. Like I was like, I've never freaking questioned not
But
believing in God. I was like almost sick by the fact that he was like so confident in his like, I don't believe in God. I was like,
It's because it's been ingrained in us to think that if we don't believe in a God,
we're
not-
lost.
Yes,
Yeah.
our souls are lost
Correct.
forever.
But in my journey of like deconstructing what I grew up with, I was like, I've never been more happy. Like getting rid of that concept of God was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because it was not that like God that's there and God that was taught to me are not the same God, if that makes sense. Like God is not evil. God is not punishing. God is not judgmental. Like there is not this concept that should be shame. There shouldn't be shame around God. Your relationship with God should not be like that. Like, so when I realized that that was an option, it was like, wow, look at life. Like this is not stressful.
So, see the original, what does religion actually mean? It means dharma. Even Hinduism, it's called Sanatan Dharma. Is nothing but a righteous way of life. So these principles were created to have some rules in society so that people could live a righteous way of living. Those have now been taken to extreme levels to control masses.
Right. But I mean, it even gets back to, not to, like what you said earlier about you could take Vladimir Putin and you could take yourself.
It's one and the same.
Jesus Christ would have been,
Same.
he said the same exact thing. We are
course.
all one and the same.
Correct. And that is the underlying teaching of all masters. Every self-realized master that you pick up has the same teaching. He may have said it in a different way, he may have explained it in a different way, but the underlying essence, because, and this is when non-dualism comes. What does non-duality mean to you? That the truth is one and the same. Because the truth cannot change for her and be different for her and be different for him. Then it's not the truth by its very definition. So non-dualism only means that the underlying truth of all is one and the same. Otherwise, it's not the truth. If it is not the same, then by its very definition, truth has been lost. And that is all that non-dualism means. On top of it, non-duality and duality has no meaning. Because in reality, there is no non-duality or duality. Reality is one and the same. So for me, there is no non-realized or self-realized person. There is only a realization. There is no seeker of reality and knower of reality. There is only reality. It is only to the ignorant who says that I know the reality and you are the seeker of reality. So it's the same it's across the same thing, because people are just following blindly. So churches were set up, temples have been set up to provide you peace, to provide you a calm space where you can go and introspect. Those have now become, people take their phones, people can say, oh, it's become routine. Arey, do this, do that, chada do, do the darshan. Nothing. They're on their phones. They're not even doing the darshan. They've got some other fellow who they've now kept there who's actually doing the puja for themselves, for them. So there was somebody in go between now who they pay every month because they are so engrossed in the daily life. But they say we are very religious. No, what? That's not religious. So these are just dogmas. These are just being ingrained, right?
Yeah.
Now, how will you break it? This is where I say my job is to shake you, and you have to shake. 90% of the people may probably spit at you. That's okay. But even if one comes out, excellent. So I'm looking for that one. The balance, 7.99 billion, are irrelevant.
So if you take a reader who's reading your book but still has, I mean, this has never really happened to me, but just has a hard time getting out of bed because of depression, anxiety, or whatever the case is, like they just, I mean, you see it on those commercials all the time, they literally can't, I don't know how to describe it, they can't do anything. How could you explain to a reader the ask who I am? How can you get the reader to say, who am I? To get that person up and moving that day.
That was my question too, because I put.
So let me understand.
I identify with that. Like with the whole deconstruction of everything in my life, the end goal, not goal, but the end point was like disassociation. Like, what is real? Like, what is the point? There's no fucking point. Like, I'm just here. So I feel very depressed, and I feel very apathetic, and very like what's driving me? I don't have one.
So ask the question, who is it that's depressed?
Well, that's what I said. Like, I was like, if you, how do you find
Who's
purpose
depressed?
without I am? Like, how do you find purpose without any intrinsic messaging of whose purpose? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I wrote, and I was like, what drives you, or what drives, like, there is no drive then. Like, if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't identify with this, like, what's the point of me getting up? What's the point of someone doing anything if there is no point?
So the only point of doing something is to realize who you are. That's the only purpose, nothing else. So
But
try
who I am is, you know, I don't want to say nothing, but it's like very much equal state of like existence, like just existing. I'm a human existing. I'm a person in a body. Like,
Are you?
I mean, I have life. I'm alive. Like,
But so your body, is it what you believe is alive?
I don't feel alive. I don't feel real.
Right?
Like,
because you have identified with your body. The body is just matter. It's inert.
and that's what I mean.
Right.
Like, so like.
So
what's-
the whole point, because of this
what is
identification,
purpose?
right?
Yeah.
The purpose of body is nothing. It's nothing. It's just true. It's actually nothing. If you look in science,
Yeah.
it's inert, right?
So like,
So
what is purpose?
so because you've identified with your body, now you're like, I'm nowhere to go with this body, right? Or nowhere to do. But the question is to seek the purpose in knowing. Okay, let me see if I can explain this to you better. Trying to find an example for you.
Yeah,
an
because like
analogy. So
I think that this is like when a person does do all of this breaking down, getting rid of all of these other beliefs and identities. When you break down all of your identity, you're nothing. You know what I mean? Like it is. You're not special. You're not anything. Like it is not unique. It is just you. Like there's just this.
but what happens is, but the nature of that nothing
Yeah.
is bliss beyond measure.
I was gonna say it's the calming effect.
But
because
then
you
what
have
do
no
you do?
expectations.
Yeah, like I have no expectations for myself other than keeping myself and my kids alive. Like
Why even have that?
that's what I mean.
But that is also an expectation.
Yeah, but it's like the bare minimum of expectation.
No.
Like that's like the literal bare minimum.
No, everything has to go. Then only you will
Then my
truly.
kids would be taken away.
So
like-
then only you will have true peace.
What are goals? Like
So-
No goals. Whose goals are these?
that's
Forget
what I'm saying.
about
Like
goals,
I
right?
like
So the question is not to worry about the goals, the achievements, the expectations.
Mhm.
Is to find whose expectations are these,
that's what I mean.
whose goals are these.
And that's why
Because till that does not dissolve,
yeah.
you do not really experience your true nature, which is absolutely blissful. It's beautiful. There is something there.
Yeah.
Telling you there is something there, because I have experienced it.
Yeah.
And it's joy beyond measure. You cannot measure it.
So when you were going through, like when you were saying, like when you were depressed and you were going through the like crying all day, feeling very
I
like
felt the same thing. How do
Yeah.
I get out of bed?
yeah. So then what made you get up?
This one fine day, I found some answer when I prayed,
Hello.
and I didn't know who I was praying to,
Yeah.
because I myself had that belief that there is somebody there
Yeah.
listening to me,
Yeah.
right? So the answer came in this form. Now, when I went down this, I don't know. You know, as I said, the script is written. If I believed that I had a choice, I could have said, "This is shit. What is this? This is not my answer.
Mhm.
This makes no sense to me." For whatever reason, it did. And I said, "Okay, what he's saying is making sense. Let me give it a shot." So I did. And I found one thing, and I said, "Wait a minute. Things started to improve slowly." And I said, "Okay, this is improving. All right, let me try something else."
But who is it improving for?
I didn't have till then. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Till I came to a point and I said, "Okay, now I've kind of got some understanding of where I need to be,
Mhm.
and I feel better. Whatever you told me to do, I did. I started feeling better. So, but now I'm not getting there fast enough, which is why then I got to Raman now. Then came to the answering the question, who is this about? And by following his self-inquiry, I was able to then get an experience of nothingness, which when touching the source, that was like, it's just unfathomable. So there is something. I'm here to tell you that it's not just,
Mhm.
feeling depressed, but if you are able to let go of even that depression, there is something there. And that is what the promise of self-realization is peace beyond measure. Nothing else then touches it. Everything else is just there. But nothing touches this, nothing breaks it, nothing disturbs it. Nothing changes this joy. Because in the depression, also, you are not attached to it. It's happening to the body. It's happening to this little thing that is actually not you. It is a split. You can truly see that everything is not connected to you. The connection is gone.
The connection to being depressed.
The connection to being everything
Yeah.
is gone.
Then what is?
It just is.
It just is. Like it just.
That's it.
Yeah. Like I get it. Like I
I know.
it's just one of those
But
like
the mind does not, because the mind See, the whole point of the mind is to keep you outward.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time for the mind to say, wait a minute. Oh, because you're asking the very thing that is keep you going outward to now stop and go inward and then to dissolve itself, to question itself. It doesn't want to. You know, for a long time it won't want to, because that's not what it's designed for. It's designed to keep you outside. You're asking the thief to dress up as a policeman and try and catch itself. Not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. So it will keep questioning, it will keep questioning. And this becomes still, at one point, if you do it, if you can't find the answer that it's looking for, it will start going back and dissolve. You can't find the answer.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. It's just that your thoughts have outwardly played out, and then it's a reverse process. But it all starts from the thought. That's another thing to realize, that this is a inward to outward movement. It is not an outward to inward movement.
Yeah.
That means everything starts with a thought. The thought then gets projected into energy. That energy then gets projected into matter. It's not the other way around. So if you really quieten your mind down, you will see that the thoughts are not continuous. They're actually coming at images. They're actually 2D images being played out as 3D drama. But they're actually still images.
Yeah.
And they come as image blank, image blank, and the reality is blank, not the image. You're focused on the image, so you've forgotten the blank. Because it's moving so fast, because they're coming one tuck, 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 it feels as if it's continuous. But when you slow down your thought process, deep meditation, you can actually see it. And at some point you can actually go, you can do that.